This is a series of conversations with the major players in the cruise industry, unedited, uninterrupted, and on location. In this latest edition, I caught up with Gianni Onorato, CEO of MSC Cruises, at the Fincantieri shipyard in Trieste, Italy. When people think of cruising, the biggest, I think, mistake that they make is thinking that how many people have actually taken a cruise, when in fact, the numbers are still very small, aren't they?
That's correct. Although with some differences between, there are some markets which are more mature, like, let's say, North American market, but in Europe there is still a huge potential.
It's still in the infancy, really.
Oh, the penetration is very low, and the penetration, I would say, that is less than half of what we see in the United States. So we go from 3% of the United States to less than 1.5% in Europe.
And less than 1.5% in China, too.
Oh, definitely even lower than Europe. And if we consider that these areas of the world are more populated than North America, so the potential is even bigger. And actually, there are also some other factors, like holiday days for Europeans are more than what is reserved to Americans.
Very angry about that, yes.
And Europeans live much more by the sea than North Americans do, so there is also a closer contact with, closer relationship with the sea and with the tradition of the sea. So there is really a huge potential for Europe and Asia.
This year alone, 1.2 billion people will cross an international border. In the American market, only 24 million Americans will cruise. That is a tiny, tiny fraction.
Yes, that's why we are building so many ships and we are investing so many millions of dollars, because we do believe that this is for the next, let's say, 25 years to come at least. This will be a more modern way of taking an holiday, and so that we have a huge opportunity for growth.
And you're not the only one who's investing this money. Every cruise line that I know has the shipyards at full capacity.
That's correct, and actually, unfortunately, there are only 3 shipyards in the world which can really are able to build the new ships. And actually, they can build on a range of 2 ships per year each. So there is a limitation also to the construction of new ships.
In the old days, a ship got to be 12 or 13 years old, it either got sold or it just disappeared. That's not happening anymore. You're just adding to the fleet.
This is correct. So you can use these ships to get new customers approaching for the first time, and secondly, the ships can be renovated. And we have even lengthened some of our ships through a project that we have called the Renaissance Project.
Give me an example of what a cruise business brings to a port.
Every guest is bringing between $100 and $150 per port. And so this is, I think, huge, because there is a lot of activities, of surrounding activities to the cruise business. We're not talking about taxis, but very simple things, very practical, like taxis, like shopping, but not only. I mean, we're talking also about all the activities that we're bringing to the port to receive a ship. From the ship is buying water, is disposing of garbage, is doing a lot of activities which are helping the community.
Creates jobs.
This is creating already jobs.
You mentioned going to new ports because of necessity, but you also plan to go to new ports as well.
When we try to add new ports, because we want to create a new itinerary, because we want to really meet always this desire of people of cruising, because that's fantastic. You cruise during the day, during the night, and every morning you're in a different place without having the need to pack or unpack your suitcase. That's fantastic. So that's why we're always looking for new ports.
The repeat cruise passengers are always saying to you, okay, take me someplace I haven't been, right? There's that demand to say, all right, we did Venice, we did, wherever. Where are you going?
Okay, first of all, the repeat passengers are more and more going again to the same places because they love to go with a different ship. And the new ships are bigger, but most of all, they're richer of services, richer of amenities. And the repeat guests, they love that. So they do not mind to go again to the same place. But where are we going? We have opened, for example, the Middle East, where they've never been in the past. With the beautiful destination like Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Oman. We're going now in Qatar for the first time. The world really has a lot of opportunities for cruising.
And then if something does happen with political instability somewhere and uncertainty, you can also leave.
The cruise is a moving asset, so we can move it in accordance with what we think the market is more appreciating.
All right, so let's talk about some of those surprises. Give me an idea of a port that you figured, who wants to go there? And everybody wanted to go there. Or a port you said, we got to go there, and nobody wanted to go there.
In the coast of North Africa, like Dakar, in Senegal, okay, that you will never think that, I mean, when you plan your holiday, you don't think about that. And I have to say that it is one of the highest rating in terms of satisfaction of our guests. So it's a continuous discovery. On another note, there are parts which are also very popular, very famous for land-based holidays, but then on the contrary, either because there is not the proper reception and it doesn't work so well. You know, but I don't like to name those.
No, but I want you to name them. Tell me.
No, I mean, for example, there are some ports in the Black Sea that we were really at a high level of expectation, and I don't know, like in Romania, like Constanza, and so on, where at the end the experience is not really matching what was the expectation.
But you have the economic clout to be able to say to these ports, we'll come back when you get your act together.
It's what we always tell them. And but today there are different ports in the world who are really more proactive, either because there is also the political entity which is supporting the cruise, and one biggest example is China.
Well, let's talk about China, because it used to be a sort of limited destination market. Now it's becoming a source market, right? I mean, you have 130 million Chinese traveling. If you even had 1% of that, you'd be very happy.
Definitely yes, definitely yes. In China, first of all, the domestic cruising, I mean, sourcing Chinese guests is one part of the cruise development today. So they are traveling mainly to Japan and Korea, with destinations like Jeju Island, like Busan in Korea, or like Fukuoka, Nagasaki in Japan. On another note, more and more they're starting to travel outbound to Europe, for example. Actually, for example, in our company, we have reached, just in a couple of years, more than 20,000 Chinese who are coming to on a cruise in the Med, either out of Rome, Civitavecchia, or out of Barcelona, or out of Venice.
And those Chinese who are cruising, do they want a Chinese experience, or do they want an MSC experience?
So Chinese look like much more Europeans. They like dancing. They like singing, okay? They like to have good food. They like to try international food, but they also like to have their own traditional food. They don't like sunbathing. That's why one of the ships that we actually were going to have in China next week, we have completely covered and shrouded all the outside area of the ships, because in China you should not look tanned. That's one of the rules of the Chinese people.
You had to learn that.
I had to learn that because it's a very cultural reason for that, because they don't want to be considered as people coming from the countryside, which is, let's say, the lowest level of the social position.
The one thing the Chinese love is retail.
They love retail and they love gambling. These are the two main areas of engagement in time when
so here's what you can do. You cover the ship and make an outdoor casino.
Yes, actually this is what we're doing.
Really?
We are doing that. We're doing that also because when you give them good food, when you give them good shopping experience, and actually we have a wide array of selected European brands they really got crazy for. And then there is the gambling. But not necessarily casino in the open deck, but you can also have a shopping experience outside on the open deck.
Well, a number of cruise lines are actually dedicating entire ships, not just to those ports. They're building ships just for the Chinese market.
It's a new frontier. It's a new for the future of cruising. Although, as MSC, I do think that there's still a huge potential in Europe. We are the leader in the European market. We want to stay there in order to consolidate our position, because the penetration in Europe is still very low. There are only 6.5 million Europeans traveling on a cruise every year. So there is a huge potential. So we need to find the right balance between China, which is fascinating, but also thinking about Europe.
So you're not building any ships for China yet?
Not yet. Actually, we have, let's say, adapted one of them to the Chinese market. We're building actually now China for the North American market, because we do think that the North American market is missing a different brand like ours.
Well, let's talk about that. You mentioned penetration. MSC does not have a huge penetration in the North American market. Most people, my countrymen in America, don't even know your company.
Because we're a young company. We were born in 2003. So the first target has been to become strong and the biggest at home.
Start with what you know.
Home. I mean,
you start with what you know.
How can you be the leader outside if you are not the biggest and the strongest at home? So this has already been done, and we're starting now to develop more and more our brand in North America. And we have done it in two ways.
Okay, go ahead.
The first one, we are building a ship specifically for the North American market, which looks like what the Americans dream of when they go on holiday.
Tell me what that is.
First of all, a lot of outside areas that you can really live. There are more than 35,000 square meters available for the guests outside of the ship. There are a lot of eateries of different places where you can have all the different type of food that you can imagine, from the Chinese or to the sushi to the Italian Mediterranean experience or the typical experience of a steakhouse, to a lot of family opportunities. Family like the biggest aqua park at sea, which has never been built with the Canadian partner, to a lot of new different ways of cabins where you can even accommodate bigger families with a modular way of composing cabins and putting them together.
And what about solo passengers?
Oh yes, we have designed a number of cabins for singles, as we call it, for solo guests, because in a way I have to say that this was one segment of customers which were a little bit penalized in the past because the ships did not have cabins reserved for them.
Well, in your research, tell me what the Americans don't want.
I can tell you about Americans what they want. They want good food. They want new experiences every time, especially for what concerns the food. And then they want to have a very good entertainment.
And what they don't want?
Okay, you didn't want, for example, Americans, they don't want to be told that they're wrong.
The customer
is always right, even when he's not. And this is what we're trying to do. The second one, that they want always, they don't want to have the perception that they are not getting what they've paid for.
They don't want to be nickeled and dimed.
That's correct. So the value for money in every single aspect of the cruise must always be there.
What I've determined about my fellow countrymen, they want to be connected. They want to have the option of going on the internet every chance they get.
I think that this is not only for Americans. That's worldwide now. So today you can have a full connectivity for a cruise paying $15 for the whole cruise.
$15?
$15 for the whole cruise.
The whole cruise?
Yes.
Sign me up.
Yes,
Yeah.
so it's not free, it's almost free, but I think that we're meeting the desire of connectivity of
But I'll
everyone.
make you a bet. My bet with you is Americans don't like to feel they're being nickeled and dimed. I'll bet you that within 6 months, it'll be free.
If this is the way of getting more North Americans on board our ships, I will do it with pleasure.
When you're looking at a new port, what do you tell the port officials that you have to have?
The number one is security, because we needed to have a safe operation. The second one is that we needed to have good services in a way that the customer needs to have the assurance that the quality of the cruise is not only inside the ship, but also outside of the ship.
All the basic infrastructure, even enough bathrooms in the port.
Also the infrastructure which are taking the guests from the cruise terminal to downtown, for example, or to the sightseeing site that we have, or to the archaeological site in some cases.
Now, of course, the biggest excitement in the cruise industry, at least in the U.S., is Cuba. But nobody has more experience, at least in recent years, about Cuba than you do, because you already have a ship there. When you, as a cruise ship operator and an owner, see every other cruise ship in the world heading for Havana, what would you like to tell them about what to watch out for?
First of all, today there is an issue related to the berthing facility, because there is practically one only
for
two
small
berths,
ships?
only two berths, so which one is for small, and basically for smallest ships. So we are having our smallest ships there for the time being.
Because that's all you can handle.
That's correct. And I have to say that we have had very, very good satisfaction ratings from European guests traveling there.
You know, my concern is it's okay to handle maybe 2 ships. When you have 30 showing up and the infrastructure can't handle it, then what happens?
This will be very gradual. Okay, first of all, they needed to build the infrastructures, and it will take time, not 6 months, it will take much longer. And secondly, they also need to have the infrastructure to manage the guests when they're off the ship. Because you cannot have 20,000 people in La Habana Vieja, managing all these guests. It's impossible. You can't.
Is airlift a concern for you? Because we're seeing a rather large change with at least U.S. carriers, that they're no longer feeling the need to compete with each other, because we've gone from 8 major carriers trying to compete for 88% of the market share to 4 carriers that own it.
Actually, some of my friends who are in charge of big airlines are telling me that they're striving to fill up the planes. So there is, in a way, a capacity available for the airlifts in the market. So I'm talking of big airlines. So I do think that for the next few years to come, considering that the economy should recover gradually.
And oil prices stay low.
Correct. They will be looking at the yields more and more, but at the same time there will be some opportunity of having capacity available for us. I think today we do not have the sense that the airlift is a major issue, at least for MSC experience in Europe especially.
Is there one port that you've always wanted to go to that you haven't gone to that you hope you can?
So some ports in Alaska that we have been yet there, and my dream is tomorrow to have a ship there going there.
Alaska is a place that a lot of cruise lines go to. How about a place that nobody goes to that you want to go?
We are opening now a new destination in South Africa, in Mozambique, and we are recreating a destination there. So, truly speaking, when we want to do it, we do it.
And why Mozambique?
Mozambique, because we are the market leader in South Africa, for the South African market. There is a new middle class there, and so that's a perfect opportunity for us. So that's why we are having a ship there, taking South African to the closest destination, which is the Mozambique Islands. And
the closest destination for an emerging cruise market is where you want to be, because it's their comfort level.
Absolutely. As we needed to be looking at another huge country that so far has not been in the radar screen of most of the cruise, which is India, which is a huge country, a country with a strong improvement of economy, with a new middle class which is coming up, and which are again eager to travel and eager to know the world.
Well, given the growth potential that you talk about, there's an American movie called Field of Dreams, and in that movie they say, if you build it, they will come. Does that apply to the cruise industry now?
It applies to the cruise industry overall, and it applies to MSC, with 11 new ships to come.
Well, then they better come.
People will come. The opportunity is huge, and at the same time, actually, we should be better in managing the yield than managing the passengers, to get the passengers on board.
But that's a whole other issue.
Yes, but if you have already the passenger, you're already halfway there. You just need to manage the price.
$15.
That's for you. That's reserved for you in 6 months' time.
Thanks very much.
You're very welcome.
Our next conversation will be with Andy Stewart, President and COO of Norwegian Cruise Lines. Look for that right here on petergreenberg.com. I'm Peter Greenberg, and thanks for watching.